Good afternoon. It is 1 p.m. East African time. Welcome to KTN's Newsdesk from wherever it is you're joining us from in Kenya, around the continent and beyond. My name is Sophia Wanuna. Let's begin with a look at the highlights this afternoon.
National Assembly approve all cabinet nominees, but opposition is raising a red flag. Conference enters day 2 with discussion focused on agriculture and trade facilitation. And Ministry of Education in a major step towards laptop per child project realization.
Let's begin with MPs are now set to debate and approve or reject the nominations of all the new cabinet and principal secretaries by President Uhuru Kenyatta, as well as members of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. The 13 committees that vetted the 7 nominees for the cabinet secretary and the 24 principal secretaries recommended their approval. Nominees for cabinet secretary were vetted by the Committee on Appointments, headed by the National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi. Majority Leader Eden Duale tabled the report in the House this morning. The 7 are Mwangi Kiunjuri for Devolution and Planning, Charles Keter for Energy and Petroleum Portfolio, Dan Kazungu for Mining, Willie Bett for Agriculture, Cecily Karaoke, Public Service, Youth and Gender Affairs, Dr. Cleopa Mailu for Health, and Joe Musheru for ICT. The nominees for Principal Secretary were vetted by 12 departmental committees whose reports were tabled in the House at the start of the special sitting.
And pursuant to the provisions of Article 132, Paragraph 2 of the Constitution and Section 10 of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Act, approves the appointment of Mr. Philip K. B. Kinisu as chairperson, Dr. Daba Abdi Maalim, Paul Mwaniki Kashoka, Sophia Lepuchirit, and Rose Mugoi Mtambo Macharia as members of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Next one, Chairperson, Energy, Information and Communication. Give him the mic.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion: that this House adopt the report of the Departmental Committee on Energy, Communication and Information on the vetting of Mr. Sami Itemere, Engineer Victor Kialo, and Mr. Andrew Nganga Kamau, nominees for appointment as Principal Secretaries in the State Departments of Broadcasting and Telecommunications, ICT and Innovation, and Petroleum, respectively, laid on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 16 December 2015, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 155(3) of the Constitution, approves the appointment of Mr. Sami Itemere as Principal Secretary for State Department for Broadcasting and Telecommunications, Engineer Victor Kialo as Principal Secretary for the State Department for ICT and Innovation, and Mr. Andrew Nganga Kamau as Principal Secretary for the State Department of Petroleum. Thank you, Madam.
So my colleague Patrick Amimo has been following this story for us. He's live at our I&M studios at the City Center. Patrick, good afternoon to you. So all of the nominees for cabinet secretary positions and PSs have gotten the green light, but I understand the position is raising some questions. What is it they have a problem with exactly? Patrick? All right, we appear to be having a bit of a problem. I don't think Patrick can get me, but we will be getting back to him.
To our debate.
All right, there you go.
Appointees to the Cabinet Secretary portfolio and either reject or approve the nominations. The vetting was done last week Friday, where the Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, chaired the vetting process went through grilling the 7 nominees to the positions. There have been issues raised by the Malindi MP, ODM MP, Dan Kazungu Mzee, who had at least an issue with the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. In fact, he had been listed number 3 on the vetting order, but he had to be the last to be vetted until the Chief Executive Officer of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission came to clarify some issues touching on the use of CDF in Malindi constituency. But the Halake Wako then told the commission, the committee then that the issues could not be substantiated, though the commission is still investigating the matter, and if found culpable that Kazungu might have engaged into corrupt deals under his CDF kitty, then the Ethics Commission will prefer charges against him to relevant authorities. In fact, like yesterday, the Mombasa-based anti-corruption body team went to Malindi and cutted away some documents from the Malindi CDF office. So he's the only candidate who is facing some issues here. Mwangi Kiunjuri had an incitement case which was long running from way back in 2000, March 2000, when he led residents in Laikipia East, then Rumuruti town, to protest land grabbing issues there. That case was withdrawn by the Chief Magistrate Court at Milimani Law Courts yesterday. So Mwangi Kiunjuri has been cleared of that incitement case. It was the only one that was hanging on his on him, maybe about his clearance. But now that the High Court has cleared him, Mwangi Kiunjuri now is free to be discussed in Parliament because he's not having any court case before him. The other candidates like Willie Betts and Dr. Kilopa Maingi, though they had some allegations against them, the committee, by the time the committee was vetting them, they found that the claims could not be substantiated, and also the members cleared themselves of those allegations, some which bordered on malice. So, and even before Parliament this afternoon goes to discuss this particular report, already the opposition, we have MP Wandai already is expressed. He says that he'll move amendments to the National Assembly to say that that some of these process was done unprocedurally. A case in point is that of nomination of Malindi MP Kazungu to the cabinet position, because Kazungu belongs to ODM, and Wandai feels that the government is trying to destabilize the opposition. Remember, it's not only Kazungu has come from the opposition. We had the now serving CS for Interior, Major Joseph Nkaiseri. He came from the ODM and is now the cabinet secretary. So we'll wait to see how Wandai's amendment in Parliament pans out. Because already these it's been an issue that has been touching both the government and opposition in this war on this matter of poaching members. So we wait to see what will happen in this afternoon in Parliament. Also lined up for debating and either rejection or approval those members of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. We have the chairman, Philip Kinisu, who was vetted at least 2 weeks ago with four members of the commission, where the government is very keen to ensure that the commission as it is fully constituted, because right now it's operating with the secretariat only. That's why now, today, this afternoon, apart from the cabinet secretaries, also the members of the ethics and the commissioner to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission will be also debated for approval or rejection. So we expect these once, depending on how the debate goes, then those nominees, maybe by Christmas, those will have been endorsed, maybe will be having a Merry Christmas, and those maybe who might be rejected, depending on one or two things, maybe we'll also have to know their fate then after members of the National Assembly discuss the reports.
Thank you so much, Patrick Kamima, for that comprehensive detailing of the events as they unfold in as far as the nominees to the cabinet secretary positions, PS as well as the EACC. Much appreciated. Of course, the story here at KTN News will continue to follow for you. Now, the plenary session of the second day of the public forum offered trade facilitation, regional integration, and development of small and medium-sized enterprises as some of the elements that would help foster fair and inclusive growth in Africa. Our Abby Agena has been following the day's proceedings and now joins us live from the Kenyatta International Convention Center. Abby, it's good to see you. Good afternoon. What's going on?
Well, many thanks, Sophia, back in studio. We're coming to you from KICC, where currently the plenary session is underway, where the various member countries of the WTO are making their presentation of their statements. We've had a number of ministers already making their statements, including the Permanent Secretary for Kenya, Dr. Karanja Kibicho, who is now joining us to give us more perspectives on so far what has been happening. Many thanks for joining us, Daktari. Looking at today's sessions, what so far has transpired?
I think after the opening session yesterday, which was very successful, it was followed by a mandatory gala dinner, which was proudly sponsored by Kenya Association of Kenya Private Sector Alliance here at KICC. And what follows in the main plenary from today morning all the way to ceremony are country statements. Countries will come here and express their desire for the outcome of this Nairobi MC10. But in very many rooms, there are very many meetings on specific items that are taking place. This room is a meeting taking place on agriculture. We have a meeting that has been discussing issues of LDCs and many others. When you go to the boards that are giving the schedule of meetings, you will find that there are very many meetings. But here, we just reading country statements, which we read for a country in the morning. And the highlights of our statement in the morning, first, besides the usual pleasantries of welcoming people here, is a declaration that we want the Nairobi MC10 to succeed, and success for a ministerial meeting like this is a declaration. So we are very firm that out of Nairobi we must have a ministerial declaration, and what follows next then is what is the content of the ministerial declaration. If you listen to the country statements over and over and over, there are sticking issues, and those are issues that must be covered in the declaration. There is the issue of the Doha round of 2001, whether or not it should die in Nairobi, and almost 100% of the countries that have done their presentations today are quite clear that they cannot allow the Doha development agenda to die in Nairobi. That's clear, meaning that it's one of the outcomes that we will want. The other sticking issue that's coming out here is about agriculture, because most of the countries that are developing or are LDCs, the mainstay of the economy is agriculture. So we are very clear that the issue of agriculture support that's provided by the developed countries is an issue that must be addressed. Export subsidies, subsidy to farm inputs. These are things that must be addressed, because this is one of the biggest market distorting factor provided by the developed countries. Then the other issue that we are talking about here is the issue of the LDCs. It must be addressed, and I think if you listen to all the presentations, they are around reaffirming about continuation of Doha, and of course addressing the pertinent issues of agriculture and LDC.
Looking at some of the highlights, as you've mentioned, what does it mean in the event that the Doha round doesn't see to get much support in this conference? What does that technically mean? If you could break that down for us.
You know, WTO exists because it wants to regulate trade, provide fair play field for all the countries, regardless of their status of development. We will be lying to each other to think that after Nairobi, countries will not trade with each other. We will continue trading with each other, and that trade must be regulated by somebody, and that somebody is WTO. So I don't think there is even the remotest imagination that WTO is about to die. But because these are negotiations about trade, people have very diverse interest in this matter. When you're talking about agriculture, the interests are very diverse, and you can hear it from this room. Because the language that the developed countries will give is very different from the language that our country will give and the LDCs will give. And you heard even in the opening statement of our president yesterday, he specifically singled out agriculture because this is the elephant in the house. As long as we are not addressing the issue of agriculture, then these discussions have no meaning to especially the African group.
Correct.
But it's not just about agriculture because WTO is about market access. What are the other issues that must be give and take for us to accept to proceed with these discussions? But that there won't be a declaration, of course we are not giving that room. That there won't be a declaration if that was to happen. It won't be the first time. But this meeting has been here and decisions shall be made. But post-Nairobi work program, will it exist? That's the big question.
PS, before I let you go, of course, agriculture constitutes a major income earner for Kenya, bearing in mind that we are an agricultural economy. Kenya currently is among the top exporter of some products like tea, coffee, as well as quite a number of other products. Looking at these discussions that will be happening today around agricultural subsidies, paint for us a picture of what we should expect and what sort of conversations are likely to be talked about in this.
You see, because after Doha round, the WTO members have been slow to sort out these issues. Even as I speak to you, you can hear the word agriculture from the speaker. What has happened is regional economic blocks have started going into economic partnership with others. Like EAC has already finalized a discussion with the EU in our EPA discussions so that we can be able to access that market on agricultural products. But all these are meaningless arrangements if WTO moved quick enough, because then it would become a universal open market. But because of the slow pace of conclusion of this, you are finding COMESA, you are finding EPA. All these can be resolved if those issues are resolved very quickly, because they are addressing the same issue, market access.
Aside from agriculture, what sort of other breakthroughs are we looking at in this particular conference with specific reference to Kenya as we wind up?
You know, in the country, we are talking about, because you don't want to generalize, we have the issues of services. That is a sticking issue from the Doha round. We have the issue of industrial products. But once we cloud this in this discussion, then we lose out on the very important discussion. Our discussion is agriculture, it's agriculture, it's agriculture. The others are important to us, and we have their framework, but they are not as difficult as agriculture. And therefore, if agriculture is not progressing, it's pointless to progress with the rest. And this is clear for us. Yeah.
Many thanks there, Dr. Karanja Kibicho, the permanent Principal Secretary, I beg your pardon, for Foreign Affairs, giving us perspectives around this particular conference. He is quite optimistic that a Nairobi declaration will be achieved in this particular conference, indicating that Africa will be keenly monitoring to see how agriculture is addressed, bearing in mind that agricultural subsidies have affected exports from Africa into the developed countries. This is an area that could have significant developments in the Kenyan economy, with agriculture being one of the largest employers currently. This is just some of this actually some of the discussions that we will continue to keep an eye for you here at KICC. More discussions will be coming on, but for now we take you back to Sophia Wanuna. My name is Abi Agina.
Thank you so much, Abby, coming to us live from the Kenyatta International Convention Center. And remember, in the next hour on Business Today, again, we'll be getting more details on what's unfolding there. Now, let's continue with other news here on KTN Newsdesk. And the Kenyan Ministry of Education has launched a digital curriculum for Class 1 pupils, which is compatible with all smart devices, including phones and tablets. And as KTN's Muremi Mwangi now reports, Education Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i says parents should support this initiative by buying smart devices for their children, even as they are with the laptops promised by the Jubilee administration.
That Kenya was dogged by low education standards at independence is a state of affairs that worried the founding fathers, a state of play that replayed itself last weekend, as President Uhuru Kenyatta announced some light at the end of the tunnel as the schools reopen next month.
Every primary school in Kenya will be connected to electricity by the beginning of the next school term. What this means is our children can now study longer and do better in school.
As if on cue, the Ministry of Education has now launched an initiative to digitize learning content.
In Class 1 mathematics,
starting with Class 1 work, which will be accessible through smart devices, such as phones, TVs, and tablets.
If you truly love your child, you truly love your child, and I believe every parent loves their child, this is the best gift to buy your child for Christmas. Whether they are in primary or they are in secondary, this is the best gift to buy your child for Christmas.
This interactive digital content will use multimedia tools such as illustrations, animations, cartoons, puppetry, and quizzes, and audio, which will simplify the class content.
We would urge the Jubilee government to speed it up and ensure at least by this January, our kids have laptops in those schools.
All the 6 subjects taught in Class 1 have been put in the digital format, together with a digital training module for primary school teachers. And Matiang'i says the classwork for the rest of the primary school and the learners will be converted into digital interactive format by 2017.
And why we are putting this content on a universal platform is so that the content is available on a device-neutral platform, so that we are not device-bound or device-controlled or device-led.
But the 1.3 million Class 1 pupils across the country are still angry and impatient as they continue waiting for the free laptops promised by the Jubilee administration, which was suspended earlier this year over procurement hitch.
I may not blame the government about it, but it will be okay if they would try to hurry up the process, because the laptop program is very important for us as primary school children.
President Kenyatta later announced that his government had turned attention to tablets for Class 1 pupils, which the then Education CS, Professor Jacob Kaimenyi, said were more recent.
We are living in a dynamic and in a changing world. We must prepare our children and afford our children that opportunity to participate meaningfully and productively in the 21st century environment.
Should the Jubilee administration deliver the tablets this financial year as promised, then this digital curriculum launched by Matiang'i may just be the perfect gift for the Class 1 pupils whose wait is long overdue. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News, Nairobi.
All right, that's it for KTN Newsdesk. For those of you watching us on KTN Home, but I welcome you to join me on KTN News for the second part of this broadcast. I'm Sophia Wanuna. Good afternoon.